Hello, everyone. Welcome to Your Stories Digital Playbook for SMBs, a series where we explore areas of SMB digitization. Today, we will be talking about cloud solutions and how SMBs can adopt them. With their cloud spend continuing to grow, SMBs nowadays represent a significant cloud sales and services opportunity. The infrastructure as a service adoption is likely to grow at a rate of over 20% in the next 5 years. Microsoft is a very key player in this space. So, to guide us exactly how Microsoft is helping SMBs adopt cloud, we have with us Harish Velat. Harish is the country head, small and medium and corporate business at Microsoft India. Harish, good to have you.
Hi, good to be here on the call with you.
Harish has over 23 years of experience, out of which 15 have been in business leadership roles as senior executive at technology companies. So, Harish, just to kick things off, everyone has been talking about COVID 19 incessantly for the past few months. So, in your opinion, how did this pandemic really affect technologically advanced SMBs versus how it affected traditional SMBs?
Yeah, I think thanks, Rishabh, for having me here and talking to your wider audience. I'm very excited to come and join this platform. To answer your question, right, I think fundamentally, if you think about the technology advanced companies that fundamentally knew on how they could use, let's say, IT as an infrastructure, IT as an application, IT as a service, I'll say they obviously had it better off, right, in terms of compared to the ones that didn't have it. If you think about now how much of that kind of describes, let's say, SMBs of the 100 million odd people that are working in SMBs that we know of, I'll say it's a small portion that possibly is at a level of adoption where it is at a level where they were able to respond fast enough from from a COVID crisis perspective. The ones that did, they were able to very quickly understand what it takes to drive from a collaboration perspective. They were able to very quickly understand how could they connect back remote work from different locations in a way where they were able to communicate on multiple devices, sometimes not even company issued devices, right? And they were able to bring their own devices and still connect. They were able to extend that entire network, not just limited to their own organization, but they were able to do that also, let's say, with their suppliers or with their channel partners. So the technology advanced companies very quickly were able to collaborate. They were able to migrate to a remote working environment fairly quickly, and they were able to get themselves started without any disruption on the way they were engaging both internally and externally. So I'll say those were the key things that if you look at a tech-enabled SMB that was operating in a COVID environment, was able to kind of immediately get back on. On the reverse, if you look at it on the businesses that were not technologically enabled, their problems were clearly accentuated to a point where they could not work remotely. They had disparate systems. So they, for example, what would that look like? I mean, I would have an email which could be, let's say, a common email that I can have, which is provided by either Outlook or by a Google Mail or anyone else, right? They might have been transacting through a WhatsApp in terms of chats. They have been using voice calls in terms of using the telecom mobile infrastructure and things like that, right? But they didn't have, let's say, a collaborative tool, right? That was there. They didn't have their laptops connecting back onto their core servers, and as a result, access applications that they would want to, right? Or get archival information that may be stored that they were not able to recover back and connect on and build from a thread of conversation point of view. So they really face those disruptions, right? And then that was basically from a very technological point of view. Now, if you look at what everybody got impacted during the extreme lockdown that we all faced, we all got impacted by the fact that there was lesser amount of business activity, which transacted to lesser amount of sales, lesser amount of cash flow, disruption in the form of, let's say, a material supply coming in for existing projects, for existing customers, inability rather for drive fulfillment. So the macroeconomic aspects of what happened for all SMBs was common to everybody. But the ones that were able to survive were the former ones that I described, that had those collaborative tools, ability to work remote, ability to access information that they were able to recover very quickly, and then go and work back with their customers, engage with their supply ecosystem, engage with their channel partners if they had any, right, from a B2B to C kind of an environment. So those were all, I'll say, the ones that survived. while they got impacted by slowdown of the business because of macroeconomic, the same slowdown from a macroeconomic point was much more heightened for the businesses that did not have technology, right? So that's how I would kind of look at from an impact
Sure,
point of view. Yeah.
sure. And Harish, for the past couple of years, when we've been talking to a lot of SMBs, we've noticed two different mindsets. So one mindset is where the SMBs consider investment in technology as an investment, and there are the others who consider it as an expense. So, we see two different mindsets at play here, and some of them which see technology as an expense, some of them are quite apprehensive of adopting any new technologies.
Mm.
So, how would you go about explaining cloud platforms to them in very simple terms?
Yeah, so I would step back even further, Rishabh. I'll say, for most businesses, I mean, I've been a P&L leader. I've been, both at Microsoft and prior lives, I've been running, businesses. There are three things that I guess all, business leaders, entrepreneurs, a leadership team needs to kind of try and address. One is how do you respond, right? That is the navigating the now, okay, as we call it. The second is how do you recover, which is preparing for the comeback. And then the third is reimagine. How do you shape your business with the new normal? In my own conversations that I've had, we did some, learning circle conversations. We had similar conversations that we did with customers. And I remember one customer telling me, "What do you mean this is going to have an impact for 1 to 2 years? I thought this was only months." Right? So that tells you in terms of just the mindset of people that don't know the level of impact at least 3 months back in terms of how sustained this is going to be and how this is going to completely disrupt in the way we were currently doing our business. So if you go back and talk about what do you need to respond from a navigate now, what do you need to do from a recover, for preparing for the comeback, what do you need to reimagine to shape the business from a new normal, and then you play that into, let's say, an organization that has traditionally looked at technology more at an expense and not as an investment. I would explain that on the basis of them being first P&L leaders, right? They understand a profit and loss statement, and so let me explain from that. So if they are looking at traditionally trying to do anything which will help them drive cost savings, right? Anything that will help them drive productivity, anything that will help them reduce the cost to acquire customers, right? Anything that will help them respond faster to the marketplace in a way where they are current. Those are truisms that doesn't change at the end of the day from whatever factor of production you're trying to drive, be it in terms of money, labor, resources, and if you take one of those resources being technology, right? And if they apply those factors of production and say that technology is one of the factors of production, and as a result I need to think about, does it help me reduce my cost, does it help me improve my productivity, does it help me serve my customers better at an ability to acquire those customers at a lower cost, and does it improve the willingness of my customers to buy from me because I'm able to be much more flawless and frictionless in terms of how they're able to access me or my ecosystem, right? So let's understand that's what everybody's trying to do. So now how would technology come in and serve that, right? If you think about the fact that now in the current world, you are living across, let's say, silos of information in the way you communicate with each other, and you need to use very disparate systems that are there. It adds to the cost, both in terms of the fact that it takes more time to respond. It ends up to a point where your productivity is lower. It ends up to a point where your ability to flawlessly serve your customers is becoming more difficult simply because you're breaking into multiple different applications, right? And you end up to a point where you're hopping from one, let's say, an email, you're hopping to a chat, which could be a WhatsApp, you're hopping to a video call, which could be like what we're doing now on Zoom, right? And you're literally hopping across all of these things. And then chances are you don't have the infrastructure for a remote connectivity back onto your core applications. And so again, there is a need for a disaggregated loop that one needs to go and close for. So if you think about it as saying, hey, I use technology to collaborate faster, improve my productivity, share my documents across multiple devices, across an entire infrastructure, get better insights of what my customers are saying, right? What my customers are asking for, and I'm able to respond better. Any businessman would say, yep, that's exactly what I'm looking at. Now, how do we go do that? The way we go do that is, if you look at it in terms of what Microsoft is trying to launch with with Microsoft Teams, right, where we've gone and offered it as a collaborative tool. It is not just a video conference. It is a collaborative tool where you're able to actually share your Microsoft Office suite of products, be it in terms of an Excel working that you may be working on, you may be working on a proposal from a documentation point of view, you may be creating a presentation. Your ability to actually use all of that in a collaborative manner where people can work on any device, work from anywhere, remote anywhere, and the ability for you to obviously now use that and seamlessly engage with customers, right? Or if you think about in terms of your ERP system that you may be having, whatever billing system that you may be using. You may be using a Tally, you may be using an SAP, right? It can be any variations of that, right? Taking those applications from, let's say, being an on-prem in a server and moving them, let's say, onto a cloud allows you now, for example, for you to remote access that anywhere, right? Third is the element of where you actually have now the entire ability to connect externally. So if you move, let's say, your website, if you move your social media capability, all also onto common data lakes. Now, by moving, let's say, your web server, you move on to, let's say, an Azure cloud, for example. What you're able to do now is you're able to manage your entire business remote. You're able to get business intelligence in terms of analytics based upon the fact that all of those customer activities are coming across common data lake. And what would have been for a large enterprise the kind of aspiration to do, small, medium businesses can easily go and do that because of the pay-as-you-go model that public cloud companies like Microsoft has offered through Azure, right? Oh. So the pay-as-you-go model that we have for any of our applications, be it in terms of Teams or Microsoft 365 from a office productivity tools point of view. So you're able to truly modernize your working environment. And now you contrast that to the earlier scenario that we talked about, where you have to hop different applications. You don't get intelligence that easily. Things fall between the crack. In the COVID environment, when physical proximity and the inability to operate, by traveling and taking a train or taking a flight and landing, those things become very amplified, and hence that's why technology becomes a massive enabler. And I go back to the fundamentals: as is it helping you improve your cost by reducing costs? Is it helping you improve your productivity? Is it creating a frictionless way of how you can go and access your customer? And is it helping you at the end of the day drive for more business? Right.
Those are
the fundamental constructs.
And Harish, when it comes to considering technology as an enabler of production for business, there is still an initial investment amount required. So this amount need not be the same for every customer. So a one-size-fits-all approach does not work. So yes. I understand you have a network of partners who talk to these SMBs, to talk to customers, yes. And they kind of help determine what is the involved cost, what are the infrastructure requirements, and how to implement it. So can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yep. No, that's a great question, Rishabh. Let's start breaking it up into 2 points, right? One is the fact that, not all customers and all businesses are alike, right? So there is an aspect of where we do have our system integration companies, our partners, who fundamentally are able to understand, let's say, where are you in your digital journey? Are you looking for basic business continuity, right? In a way where you are looking at in terms of trying to drive your business, right? To at least interact and collaborate and effectively, engage each other. Or are you looking at a business journey where you're trying to do that, but you're also looking from a transformation point of view in a way where you're able to truly go out and modernize your organization by taking all the best of technology that's out there, both from a Microsoft offering point of view, as well as from our partners. So what we did was we actually launched with our partners, and we have something like 11,000 odd partners that are there in all of Microsoft ecosystem that serves the 200,000 plus customers that we, at any given point in time are engaged with. Right? We launched an entire offering called SMB Back to Business, and the concept Back to Business fundamentally allows a business to know at the end of the day, hey, am I looking for this basic business continuity because my nature of my business is that it doesn't require as much digitization? Or am I looking for a nature of my business that requires business continuity, but I also need to transform my business in a way where I'm able to collaborate, seamlessly. So our partners today are taking those two as our core kernels of what we're offering to businesses, and then they're wrapping around their services on that and customizing that depending upon if you're a 25 member organization, or you can be over a few thousand organization with, let's say, a factory or a plant. Regardless of what your scale and size is, we have abilities to literally variabilize this entire cost. So you're actually paying literally based upon the number of users, number of people that are in your organization, and then it ties back into the size of your organization from a turnover.
So Harish, there were 4 options from starter to advanced that were in the back to business solution. Now they've been kind of consolidated. So can you tell us a bit about that distinction?
Yeah, the fundamental constructs are still the same, Rishabh. I think at the end of the day, it was all about, we created those different slices only because at the end of the day, we thought there would be different elements of where we're able to create a flight path for a business to take off, right? But if you go back, those 4 are literally brought back into the 2, which is the business continuity and the cloud transformation, right? So if you take an example of business continuity, what does business continuity mean? Business continuity means, hey, how do I collaborate in a manner where I'm able to seamlessly able to, let's say, use mobile first, because maybe I'm a company which has remote salespeople, right? And I need to be mobile first, or I'm a company that is traditionally very low on having a very physical infrastructure, and we've always been operating with more field staff. Now, if they're looking at an organization like that, you basically are looking at how do you take your Microsoft Teams collaboration using, let's say, even over a device like a mobile phone from a smartphone point of view, and how do you drive your connectivity there? Now, you could be someone who says, I do that, but I also have my laptop, and I use my laptop to connect back into my office infrastructure. So what we did was we created a Windows virtual desktop instance in a way where somebody over his laptop is able to connect, right? And as a result, access. Now, if you think about that, these are all fundamental business continuities, right? Where in a way where people are looking at in terms of just saying, even if it is in an initial startup kind of a state of where they are, either you can be mobile first, you can do a mobile first plus laptop, but how do I just basically collaborate, share documentation, and truly able to do this in a secure manner, right? Because the beauty of all of this is it's sitting on a Microsoft infrastructure, so the kind of security aspects that we build are massive compared to, let's say, they're doing it on their own and just putting a virtual private network between their core office network to a remote device, right? So because of that, this is to a point where this allows from a much more higher security capability. If you're looking from a cloud transformation point of view, which is, let's say, towards the higher end of where you are in terms of that journey of where you want to be at, we're talking about how do you take your SAP or your ERP instance like I talked about, how do you take that, put it on a cloud, and now you are able to optimize the usage of that by connecting via your own device, which could be your personal laptop. It could be a shared device for some of the households. The kids may be using it, the parents may be using it. So how do you use your desktops for those aspects, right? It could be to a point where you want, at the end of the day, to make that very secure, right? Which is again going back to the construct of what we talked about. It is all sitting within the Microsoft architecture. So allows for you to move your ERP system, remote connectivity, either from a device issued by a company or from a third-party device. You're able to connect remote, and you're able to actually utilize any of these applications, right? And then there's a whole host of applications that are built by our ISV partners that are able to give you better intelligence of integrating, let's say, your social media and let's say and your website, and integrating all of that into some sort of a demand gen engine that you're able to kind of also aggregate and see. Okay? Microsoft on our own also has Microsoft Dynamics 365, where you're able to use it for a CRM application, or you're able to use it fully in a way where you're able to completely make it on a cloud-based ERP plus CRM application that we are enabling through the Microsoft Dynamics 365.
Sure.
So that's how I would basically articulate that whole back to business offering that we did, and how do we render that in a way where we are able to support the different businesses.
Harish, just bringing you back to the partner network. If an SMB is watching this and if they are interested in signing up for some of these services or just checking them out, probably, how would they get in touch with some of these partners?
Well, an easy one is obviously the fact that we have actually created a dedicated website for the COVID period called Back to Business, right? And the URL should come up on the screen, where it should allow you to actually land on that page, put down your requirements saying, hey, what am I looking for? There's even a telephone number you can call and talk to someone. They understand what the opportunities are, where are you based, and it's our responsibility to make sure at the end of the day that is passed on to the right set of partners. So you have a choice of partners that you're able to then call in and seek support from, right? So we do have a very easy way of landing through this web portal, and also through a 1-800 number through which you're able to get all that assistance that you're seeking.
Right. And Harish, for many years, Microsoft as well as you yourself have been working with a lot of SMBs, not just in India, but internationally as well. What are some of the challenges that you have observed in working with SMBs to help them adopt cloud? Are Indian SMBs posing a different challenge compared to international ones?
Um, Great question there, Rishabh. So here's how I would articulate it. I think fundamentally most SMBs are by default unfortunately subscale. In the sense that if they are managing at the end of the day for conflicting priorities of where they need to resource and invest it into. Right now, the benefit of the cloud technology is the fact that this is a variabilized model, and this actually is the best outcome that you can have. If I were an SMB and if I was starting up a business, if somebody told me at the end of the day, hey, the cost of using any of these applications is equal to an auto ride, which I take to get to my office, right? Equating from in terms of from a simplicity perspective, right, and from a cost perspective, people are able to associate. Okay, if I need to get to work, I need to have a bike, I need to have a car, I take a public transport, right? Just as in that same context, where you end up to a point where you choose your mode of transportation, choose the way you pay for it, right? In a way where you're able to pay that monthly, you're able to pay that annually, right? Whichever subscription model that you choose, you're now able to variabilize the cost so much to a point where you're able to make it easy. The second thing that you're able to do is what, let's say, a senior leader in an organization needs versus, let's say, a frontline seller needs. You can actually differentiate and say, hey, I will create a varied level of offering in a way where what my frontline person needs is purely mobile first. Maybe what my senior leader needs is something a little bit more comprehensive, right? So I can even variabilize that model structure there. So I think if you are a business, regardless of where you are, whether you're in India or anywhere else in the world, your ability to now utilize the same quality of technology that is possible in a Fortune 100 company or a 8500 from an India context, right? You have exactly the same capability, right? At, like I said, the cost of possibly an auto ride for a day would be the cost of what you would be paying from an application point of view to access and then and start benefiting from at a business level. That variability allows for small businesses not to think about the fact that this is a massive investment. I need to put some capital investment into hardware, software, all of those things. And literally, they're able to pay as you go. They're able to grow as they scale. And as a result, truly be cloud first from the get go, as opposed to thinking of this as something that they have to be ready only after a certain scale of where they are as a business from a turnover point of view or from the number of staff point of view.
Right. Harish, do you face any problems in terms of education of the potential customers? Because you had mentioned earlier that there is a lot of benefit that SMBs can derive from adopting cloud, but not many may be aware of it. So, is education one of the challenges that you face?
I think awareness is the challenge. I don't think education is the challenge. I think awareness is first the challenge, Rishabh. So I think what COVID did was it shook the people out of their current slumber of sorts, where they kind of felt that I'm good enough, or my processes are good enough, right? Because at the end of the day, it was habitual. It was inertia. People were operating in a manner where they were used to operating with the kind of technologies that they had or they didn't have, right? What COVID has done is just fundamentally changed in terms of their need to reimagine, right? And realize at the end of the day that if they don't do it, and if they're looking back in the rearview mirror complaining about it, then they are unfortunately not trying to take advantage of what opportunities are there to go and actually change. And these opportunities are not cost inhibitors. These opportunities are things which actually are value enablers. So they have to think about it from that perspective. Now that's the awareness. So COVID, I think, has just opened up the slumber, if I can call it that, of people's need to adopt such technology, and it's forced as a result. So the volume of adoption that we're seeing now, SMBs come in and ask for our cloud offerings, is starting to become unprecedented now. But we're still scratching the surface. If you look at the millions of organizations that are there in India that can benefit from this transformation, what we are trying to do on our part is just amplifying through through communication partners like your story, where you guys are talking about this. We are looking at in terms of also amplifying it through our partners in a way where we are also looking at how do they educate customers. We do a lot of webinars continuously. I think at any given point in time, every day there is some webinar that's happening. This massive re-education that is needed, is what we're investing our time and effort into. The partners have been driving webinars, and our hope is by all of this, concerted effort that all of us are driving, including, I'll say, the kind of information that's put out by the government, Ministry of Small, Medium Enterprises. I think everybody's aware at the end of the day that they need to really start embracing technology, right? And so that, I think, is moving in the right direction, and we will continue amplifying that, as much as we can. And our hope is that that mindset change that people have had now will allow them to now be much more faster in terms of their adoption of technology.
Okay. Harish, you mentioned that SMBs are waking up from that so-called slumber and they're on the road to adopting cloud solutions. How big is this is the whole business opportunity for you guys?
Yeah, I think wouldn't be able to put a number in terms of how big the opportunity is, in terms of where we're looking at it, where this could possibly end for Microsoft, right? But I think suffice to say, right, if I put this as a perspective, we've got about 200,000 odd customers that are there that are today using some sort of technology with Microsoft, and you put that into perspective versus the hundreds of millions of businesses that are there, all of all shapes and size, that are out there that need to start adopting cloud technology. I think the opportunity is really massive in our ability to truly transform not just the business in terms at a 1:1 level, but truly transform this whole sector, and through that process transform the nation, right? I think it is a phenomenal opportunity ahead of us, and my hope is obviously that we do it sooner, because God forbid we create an environment where there's a COVID 2.0. The COVID 1.0 itself was bad enough. We don't know what COVID 2.0 could mean from a disruption to our economy, and assume if it's much worse, are we ready for that, right? And hence, we need to start making that very intentional change right now.
Right, and a lot to unpack also in terms of what SMBs need to go through to get re-educated and to really understand the benefits of what potentially cloud solutions can bring to their business. But to summarize what we've just spoken about, what would be your 2 or 3 golden rules that SMBs need to keep in mind while embracing any new technology, or particularly cloud technology?
Right. Thanks, Rishabh. I think the way I would answer it is, one, link this back to the core fundamentals of what we're trying to drive here. We are trying to ensure at the end of the day we have a flawless way of acquiring customers. We have our ability to constantly reduce our costs in a manner where we're able to reinvest back that savings back into growth, right? And hence the productivity that we want to generate in terms of growth. Look at ways where you're able to use technology in a way where you're able to supplant some of the process that you have from a physical environment, that you're able to go and drive that. And through that process, think of new ways of how you're able to go and deliver both your products and services to your customers in a flawless manner, right? And that's why I talked about it as saying, how do you respond, which is navigate to the now? How do you recover, which is prepare for the comeback? And how do you reimagine, which is truly shaping your business for the new normal, right? Those to me are your go-to strategies that you need to go and try and drive. And whatever that would mean in its shape and form, be it in terms of starting off by saying I'll use a better collaborative tool than what I have today, like a Microsoft Teams, or if it means let me move some of my existing applications onto the cloud in a way where I'm able to remote access this and get all of this constantly on common data lake, or using ISVs and applications in a manner where you're able to communicate and react and respond to a new way of how you're able to serve your customer. Whatever your journey is, I'm hoping at the end of the day, those are the key principles that we abide by.
I just wanted to come to that, in fact, next, Harish. Let's say I am an independent software vendor, or I'm somebody new who, has totally no idea about how to build such a solution. But I see that there is such a big opportunity. SMBs are adopting cloud. So what would be 2 or 3 golden rules I need to keep in mind, or any software builder has to keep in mind while building these specific solutions for SMBs?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. Let me put this on the basis of, what can Microsoft do, right? One, if you are a startup and you are at a point where you're looking at using technology and you're trying to differentiate your offering in a manner where you're helping your customers truly be future ready by something that you're driving from an application point of view, right? That's fundamentally doing, improving the ability for them to serve their customers better so that they're able to be profitable and competitive in the marketplace, or if they're able to help them reduce their operational inefficiencies by something that they're doing. There are only two levers that basically fundamentally, if you go back to the drawing board, what you're trying to drive for, right? So what are you, if you're whatever you're trying to drive, at the end of the day, what you're looking for is as follows. You're looking for how do you build your application to, one, come on a public cloud infrastructure which allows you as an ISV to take on the vast data architecture and infra that, let's say, an organization like Microsoft provides, right? By coming on that, you have the benefit of now the best quality of infrastructure that we have in terms of data centers, the most secure form of data center that you may have, or from a capability point of view, from running, let's say, in future AI and the analytics that you want on your application, you have that capability that's landing, right? That's how I would call it out. Second, I would call out from the fact that Microsoft also, from an ecosystem, we support startups. So we actually have in my team, we have a startup team that take some of these startups that are in their early stages, provide them the kind of engineering support that they need in a way where they're able to understand as a result how they can scale up and grow with the kind of engineering talent of people that are there from a Microsoft point of view, that they can help the startup community and the startup company, right? Third is the fact that Microsoft is clearly has a step above everybody else in its ability to have proven from a B2B environment, where if you look at in terms of commercial institutions, be it educational institutions, right, across verticals, you can take that across, let's say, healthcare, manufacturing, consumer goods, right, name it, right? We have a massive presence in our ecosystem through partners that serve traditionally on IT and IT services that we have today, right? An ISV is able to now come in as part of this ecosystem that I described and literally flow through the currents of what Microsoft offers through its partner ecosystem through a co-sell opportunity and land into some of these accounts, right, and into some of these customers. And these could be large enterprises, these could be small enterprises, right? And that's the benefit that the ISVs have from a Microsoft point of view in terms of how they're able to truly scale, but at the same time get the benefit of being part of a large infrastructure of what Microsoft provides through the Azure architecture, right? So those are how I would describe from an ISV on what Microsoft can definitely help with. And I think from an opportunity point of view that's there in the marketplace, I think anyone's imagination is the next best offering that may be out there, right? I think be it in terms of the quality of ISVs that we see that have digitized, let's say, the whole payment infrastructure, right? I think, or be it in terms of the kind of digitization of the channel side of things, right? Where they have helped businesses very quickly figure out how they are able to reimagine and work through a channel infrastructure, and as a result, bring all of that onto, let's say, a legacy ERP system that may be there, right? By modernizing one part of an application, but talking to an old tenured, on-prem part of an application that could be inside within an organization. I think we've had enough examples of ISVs that have done that. So I truly feel, ISVs, your imagination is your best offering of what you can offer from an infrastructure and technology point of view. You'll find Microsoft truly enabling ISVs and startups to, get to a point where they can be cutting edge and helping the larger ecosystem of our customers, both theirs and ours.
Thanks, Harish. Thank you so much. This brings us to the end of an insightful discussion on cloud technologies, how SMBs can adopt them, and also how Microsoft is playing a big role in enabling this. A big thanks to you, Harish, for joining us.
I appreciate, Rishabh, for the opportunity, and I look forward for ongoing conversations with you and your team. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. We hope everyone watching found the discussion insightful and had some useful takeaways. This one-on-one was part of Your Story's digital playbook for SMBs, a series where we come together with key stakeholders in the SMB ecosystem to discuss crucial areas of digitization. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.